What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Lou Streets, and I am back with the very first video in the new setup. Still having some furniture delivered, got rid of some of my old things. As you see, my air mattress is in the back. It kind of gives me this old studio feel like in New York, but that'll be going soon. Got some furniture and stuff coming in, so the backdrop will be changing. But I am excited to do the first video on the new setup. And ironically, I didn't plan to do this video, but let's go over something that's been on my timeline all day because it's a little bit different than things that I usually cover, and I want to know you guys' thoughts on it, right? So let's jump on over here to my browser. The thing that I want to talk about is, EVO has been acquired by, I hope that I'm not mispronouncing this, either Kidia or Chidia, but essentially let's go ahead and read through this because this has been a big deal on my timeline all day. I want to see the community reaction and see kind of what it means. So let's go ahead and get started here. And my reason for wanting to cover this is actually pretty unique. I don't know if you guys remember, a few months ago, I made a video that was titled, what did I call that video? Identity politics are killing gaming or something like that. It was somewhere in that ballpark. But I pretty much talked about how politics and ideas of that nature being forced into gaming is really killing like the scene, or at least like causing unnecessary discourse. And so the reason I wanted to cover this is because, as you guys know, a lot of my content is based around the games themselves, the characters, the movesets, the combos, just different fun stuff within the game. I don't really focus too much on the competitive scene. To some extent I do when it's some of my favorite players, or maybe games I enjoy watching being played competitively. But overall, I usually try to focus on in-game things. But the reason I wanted to cover this is because it kind of ties into what I said about that identity politics, you know, going into gaming, causing issues, and then what we have here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this report, and then I want to see some of the community feedback. I know this is hard for you guys to see, so let's zoom in just a tad bit so we can look at this just a little bit closer. So I hope that I'm not butchering this, but it says either Kidia or Chidia. I don't know which way to pronounce it, so hopefully I'm not butchering it. You guys can correct me in the comments. But it says Kidia fully acquires Evolution Championship Series organizer RTS. News follows an announcement in late August that the Saudi Arabian government Mega City Project bought a stake in RTS, right? So let's take a read here. So the Saudi Arabian Mega City Project, Kidia or Chidia, please correct me again in the comments, has taken full ownership of tournament organizer RTS, according to a social media post. This news was first made public by, I'm going to just say Q, because I don't want to keep butchering it every time I say it. So this was first made public by Q Chief Strategy Officer Mohammed Alderwood, I hope I'm not butchering his name, in a post on LinkedIn. Financial terms of the acquisition were not disclosed. RTS is best known as the organizer of the popular fighting game championship series, EVO. On August the 31st, it was announced that India-based NODWIN, so Nodwin, I think Nodwin Gaming is how it's pronounced, has acquired Sony Interactive Entertainment stake in EVO for an undisclosed amount, with the company moving from an ownership role to becoming a sponsor of the event. In the same announcement, Q announced that it has invested an undisclosed amount in EVO co-owner RTS. Q served as a global partner of EVO in 2024, and it's unclear if Q had already closed the full transaction at the time this news was reported, as the company did not indicate it had taken full ownership of RTS. In case you're not familiar with Q, it is a mega city project backed by Saudi Arabian government-owned sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund. In his social media post, Alderwood thanked all the people that made the deal happen. Here's the post right here. It says, excited to share that Q has acquired fuller ownership of RTS, a strategic step that will further strengthen our esports business and unlock new opportunities across the broader gaming ecosystem. And most importantly, this will enable Q to keep fueling the continued growth of the EVO Championship Series, the world's largest fighting game event since 1996, with unlimited potentials. This milestone paves the way for setting new heights in the evolution of EVO towards achieving the aspirations of the fighting game community. Grateful to our incredible team, Stephen Roberts, Omar El-Sayed, I hope I'm not butchering, Mike Milanov, Rocky Kanuja for their dedication, along with the outstanding leadership of Stuart Saw, Kim Fan, or either Kim Fon and Richard, I really don't know how to pronounce his last name, Thierthy or something like that. Also, special thanks as well to our value partner and true friend, Akshad Rathi. Okay, so both Q and I will now opened up offices in New York City this year to conduct business with North American companies. Projects backed or owned by the Saudi Arabian government, such as Q, are frequently quit. Okay, so here's the part that everybody's kind of having an issue with, and we'll go to the social media response afterward. Here it is. Projects backed or owned by the Saudi Arabian government, such as Q, are frequently criticized for helping the government engage in sports washing or using various forms of entertainment to cover up its record on human rights, women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, military actions in Yemen, and more. These other criticisms have been highlighted by international watchdog groups such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. Okay, so my reason for reading that is because this has been all up and down my timeline all day, right? This is normally something I wouldn't cover, but I've been very curious to the responses of people who are more well-versed in this, and that's why I wanted to read the report directly myself so I could kind of get an understanding. And that last line is very telling. This down here where it talks about sports washing, using various forms of entertainment to cover up its record on human rights, women's rights, LGBTQ plus, military actions, etc. Right? So that was why I wanted to cover that. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying about identity politics in gaming, because in this scenario, these are like real politics, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? But there's still like an identity factor in it, because some people don't support that government for various reasons. Some people may not support that government for their own lifestyles here in America. And so it gets tricky, because it's like, you know, we've seen a lot of different tweets, and I want to go over those tweets. I'm going to try to cover them all, because I think some of them are very telling. So let's see. What's this tweet right here? Okay, so this tweet is just about the announcement again. So I'm going to take that off my bookmarks. I just wanted to keep that to follow up on it. Okay, so we got Darza FGC right here. He had a very lengthy tweet, so I want to read what he has to say and see exactly what he's talking about. Let's zoom this in so you guys can see it, of course, because I want to read through all the tweets before I kind of share my thoughts on what this kind of means, and more importantly, you know, some of the stances that people are taking, right? So let's take a look at this. Okay, so Darza FGC. I usually don't jump into debates where people only see the surface and ignore the bigger picture. But every time Saudi Arabia invests in esports, and the reason that this is kind of a big deal is because how great EWC was recently. And I think this kind of ties into that, because obviously there's a lot of money to be thrown around when it comes to these type of scenarios. But when I watched EWC, it was highly entertaining. I don't know exactly how tied in these companies are, or if it's like directly related, but I think that's kind of the tonality that I've seen from like people's tweets. And that was an amazing event, and plus the players got paid. So it gets tricky when it's like, okay, what about players getting paid in entertainment versus how people feel about political stuff, you know, border issues that happen in America versus what would happen over there, women's rights, human rights, etc. Right? So that's why I wanted to read this. But let's get back into what Darza is saying. I'll share my opinions at the end of this thing. I want to go over these tweets that I bookmarked. So I usually don't jump into debates where people only see the surface and ignore the bigger picture. But every time Saudi Arabia invests in esports, the same tired lines show up: dirty money, sports washing, human rights. And now with Q taking over RTS and EVO, the outrage is louder. But honestly, it all sounds stuck in the past. Calling this dirty money is lazy. The US government bankrolled Hollywood during segregation. China poured billions into the Olympics under constant criticism. Nobody discredited those industries. But when Saudi backs esports, suddenly it's a moral crisis. That's not principle, that's hypocrisy. And the human rights arguments gets thrown around like a trump card, but let's be real, no country is flawless, which is very true, because we see a lot of police brutality here in America, but that's for another video. I won't talk about that right now. The question is whether you shut down opportunities for players and fans just to posture, or recognize that investment and reform can happen side by side. If anything, funding youth, culture, and gaming is the smarter path forward. EVO has the heart of the fighting game community, and with this support, it can finally scale into a truly global platform. Bigger prize pools, stronger infrastructure, more opportunities across regions. Critics can keep recycling the same sports washing line, but the industry is moving forward without them. The reality is this: Saudi isn't hiding behind esports, it's shaping the future of it. So Darza is clearly in support of this. And I'm not really sure where Darza is from. I'll kind of keep where people are from irrelevant to the conversation, or at least I'll keep it out of this conversation. I just want to see what people have to say, and then I'll share my 2 cents after the fact. We have James MK right here. Wow, just wow. All the LGC clowns who used to screech, "Shut the fuck up, James MK, you old fossil. We're going esports, deal with it," are suddenly crying in the corner. Now the esports ate their lunch. Now it's all we miss locals, we need regionals backs, boo-hoo. Newsflash, Einstein, you torched that part of the LGC yourselves. And he has a point right here based on some of the tweets that I read. I'll point that out when I get to that. But because of me reading over this stuff, when he said you torched that yourselves, you're gonna kind of see this in real time that he's kind of right. As I said, locals and competition isn't really my thing. I'm more about the games and the content creation itself. But in this scenario, I understand enough of what they're saying to really be able to observe and understand where everybody's coming from. But there's some validity to what he's saying. But let's get back to this. Newsflash, Einstein, you torched that part of the LGC yourselves. You cheered while the grassroots got bulldozed. That's why final round, SCR, NCR, ECT, Winter Brawl, Summer Jam, NWM, Canada Cup, Silver War, NEC, and a stack of others are dead. You didn't just sell out, you auctioned off the soul of the scene for a Twitch sub and a sponsor badge and a couple of bucks. But hey, congrats, you still got CEO, Combo Breaker, and Frosty Faustings. Nurture them, clutch them, pray they don't collapse too, because the rest, you buried it. Let's keep going up here. Okay, so here's the homie Kirby, or NYC Furby. You know, Furby has a lot of strong takes and stances against certain groups. He'll stand on his own and kind of, you know, really stand on his 10 when it comes to like his opinions on certain things. So he kind of has like a lot of issues that go back and forth between like the trans community and certain things in gaming. So that's why he highlighted this tweet, which made me bookmark it. So Sonic said, this is obviously in response to this news, right? Sonic said, I have a personal life goal that I've been dedicating myself to when it comes to EVO, and I plan to see it through. I will not be erased, even if it means I'm the only voice there. I will simply be the gayer and louder than ever as I wave my trans rights flag in grand finals. So I would assume that the personal life goal that Sonic is talking about is maybe winning a certain amount of championships to kind of solidify himself as the greatest fighting game player, or one of the greatest fighting game players, period. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, because I don't know what his personal goal is, but I would assume that's the plan. And he's saying taking his moral stance versus his competitive stance would pretty much jeopardize his goal, right? That's what he's saying. I'm not one to judge that. And to be honest with you, I kind of stand with Sonic on the side of, hey, if I've been competing all this time and I enjoy competing, I'm not gonna let some third party come in and affect my goal or my interest, even if it kind of puts me against things I may have said in the past. I can understand him saying that, but that's also at the same time why I feel like people shouldn't really pump their fist in your face about certain messages and moralities, because things change from time to time and people are very isolated incident based, so it's hard to say something definitively then get put in this position, because now you have Furby saying this. Everyone knew you were going to take the bag. It's not that serious. I expect everyone else to jump ship shortly and compromise on their morals and go to EVO. And so essentially what Sonic is saying is no matter what, he's going to compete because of his goal. It sounds good in theory, but I'm sure the money incentivizes people too. And to be honest, it's a good thing for players to be able to get paid for their skill sets, especially if there's support around the events. So, I mean, it's not even a thing about just morality or money. You should be able to compete and play for money at a high level if you have that skill set, right? And that's kind of what Furby is saying. He's just saying, stop waving your morality flag. I'll keep going. We'll come back to some of these points a little bit later, okay? We have Kate Cat here saying, Saudi Arabia now owns EVO. Please support your grassroots scenes, travel to local events, support community majors, lend people advice for travel and accommodation, and do everything in your power to give the middle finger to bodies that'll push out any semblance of inclusivity from the FGC. And so we have the real Ken Willis retweets this, and this kind of goes to my point about what James said. So players only want to support local events now that someone they don't agree with was purchased with a bigger organization. Where were all of you when your locals were begging you to attend? So this goes back to what James is saying, and this is what made me decide to get involved in this. Because it's like, And I'm gonna go through the rest of the tweets before I share more of my point. But this part right here where James says, what did he say? Where is it? Where exactly is that sentence? I wanna find that exact sentence he said. You didn't just sell out, you auctioned off the soul of the scene for a Twitch sub and a sponsor badge and a couple of bucks. And this is essentially the same thing that Ken Willis is saying right here. He's agreeing with, hey, don't say let's support them now. Why weren't you supporting them, period? Now you want to support them because you want to take this moral clause. But these are like the players who represent these groups that may not have a chance to win, but may have fun attending the event because it has like a con style feel to it, you know, which is always exciting for people to like cosplay and dress up and be able to see their friends and things like that. But now this person is saying they want to attend. Meanwhile, somebody who has a very realistic chance of winning the EVO, such as Sonic Fox, Sonic didn't hesitate. Hey, I'm playing. I don't give a fuck what y'all talking about. So I just want to kind of show the reason for this discourse and why I decided to cover this video because of what people were saying. Let's keep on going. Chris G said, I said they were going to monopolize the scene. I would assume he is saying this on the heels of EWC because, hey, as we said, EWC was a great event and Tekken 8 was great at EWC. If you look at a lot of these sporting events, you know, the Jake Paul fights, a lot of these big dream fights that we would never see anywhere else. I believe we had, what was the UFC fighter in Ngannou? Who did he box? I can't remember who he boxed. Did he box, what's the fucking heavyweight's name? He boxed, Fury, didn't he? Didn't Ngannou box Tyson Fury, if I'm not mistaken? So, look, my phone thinks I'm saying Siri. I think Ngannou fought Tyson Fury, if I'm not mistaken. Let's fact check that right quick just to make sure. Ngannou, can't even spell his fucking name. Versus, yep, Fury is right there. It's right at the top. So yeah, that did happen over there. I remember that. That did happen over there because they end up robbing Ngannou when he really pretty much won that fight. But so, the point is, these events that happen over there, they really are big and like they're really big spectacles. So it's kind of funny to see people who say that they want to attend based on like this money being thrown in, while at the same time saying that players don't get paid enough. Well, now you got an opportunity to get paid, but it's like, what are you trading in order to do so? Are your morals really that strong, or are you just capping? But let's continue to read. I'll get to my point at the end. Wow, FGC, are you going to boycott EVO now? You destroyed locals and regionals and banned so many people. Shit, already a ghost town. I guess EVO gonna be like this. This is just James responding to the announcement that we've read a couple of times already. Let's see. I already know what the quotes are going to be like. No, don't pour money into the scene. So Anti is being sarcastic because essentially what he's saying is that people are going to do this moral thing and say don't pour more money into the scene. But the scene needs money. The scene needs money in order for events to be exciting and for them to have a certain level of professionalism. In regards to players getting paid, the scene needs to be having money dumped into it because of that. So I can kind of see all the points of this, but let's keep going on. Okay, we have Uncle Dan right here. Support your locals, support your regionals, support the online FGC. Queer folk will always be a part of the FGC with or without a big name event. Just be mindful here that this choice came from 8 levels above EVO itself. EVO is an event, it's not the whole of the FGC. Let's keep going here. Now, the reason that this is kind of like funny to me, to some extent, in regards to what James and real Ken Willis says, because you see people keep saying support your locals, support your locals, support your locals. It gets to be like a chicken and egg theory, because it's like, are you saying support your locals because you genuinely care to support your locals with the community builds events? Or are you only saying this because of your moral standing or your virtue signaling or whatever you want to call it, so to speak? And because you don't have a chance to win and this group is kind of known for going against some of the things that you're interested in, are you now saying this because you really feel this way? Or is it just kind of virtue signaling because of the fact that you weren't supporting locals beforehand? That's kind of like what I'm reading a bunch of. That's what made me want to make this video. I don't really have a hard stance on it. Because as I said, the competition and these things aren't really my scene. I'm more of a content creator, enjoy playing online. I played in some tournaments, but like getting into like the nuts and bolts of all this, it's just funny to see people's different reactions because it's straight down the middle. But let's keep going. Friendly reminder that offline locals and regionals should be supported regardless of what is currently happening. And I think this is probably like the most balanced take we've seen so far, you know what I'm saying? Where he's essentially saying, hey, don't say support it now because this is happening. It should just be supported, period. He's not really saying if he's for or against, what's going on. He's just simply saying support should always be happening, not when it's a time to grandstand, if you would say, But let's keep going. Katana Prom, opening Twitter and getting hit with the 43 hit Arab money combo of tweets is from me. Yeah, and that's pretty much what he's saying. Like, I didn't have any intention of covering this. I really didn't know about it. I just keep seeing the tweets so much. I wanted to kind of dig deeper and to see what was going on because I was surprised that it made this much noise to everyone. Let's see, who do we have next? King Kai FL. Although the news about EVO is disappointing for many, it should be a fire starter for our community to support their local and regional events even more. Let's continue to be steadfast in supporting events that align with proper community growth and representation. And so this kind of feeds into what James is saying here. Like, when I see these type of tweets, because they keep saying now, it should be a fire starter for our community. What you're essentially saying is, like, in a way, and this is just me not really having a horse in the race or a dog in the fight, but I'm kind of just analyzing what I'm reading. It comes off as saying, we weren't doing this before, but we should do it now. Meaning that you were fully interested in the big event money. But now that something happened that you don't really want to partake in, or at least you want a posture that you don't want to partake in, you guys are saying this. But the payouts in the local scenes will never be what they would be at these events. So people are going to participate. It's more so, how long are they going to stick to their guns, so to speak? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this, the point is, do they really feel this way, or are they just capping to virtue signal? And I'll get to that in a second. The Saudi Arabia group Q just acquired RTS, and now fully owns EVO. Let's see some of the responses. Okay, he just screenshotted some responses. This is way too long. I don't really feel like reading all of that. Wonder what the quite prominent FGC LGBTQ community thinks of this. Lots of disdain and sadness. Somebody else tweeted that they don't matter. There's been a lot of this going down the middle of this discourse where people are like, hey, leave your bullshit out of gaming, and others are saying, no, we should be included. This is part of our lifestyle. And I think that there's a very solid, consistent line, but I'll get to that in a second. Let's see. This is the one that we read earlier. This is Kate Cat. Okay, let's see. Let's go down to it because she had a second tweet as well. Okay, Saudi Arabia now owns EVO. Please support your grassroots scenes, travel to local events. We read all this earlier, right? But let's see her follow-up. This isn't a call to action to harass people that are working on these events. Direct all that negativity into bringing more good into the FGC or any space like this, and more good will certainly follow. Modern esports is soulless and dead, and this is another nail in the coffin. I kind of have a gripe with that last sentence, right? Because when something gets money invested, does that automatically make it soulless? And then outside of that, and to some extent, I do agree with Cake. Like, some things, like for instance, when it comes to like hip hop and the commercialization of hip hop, I can see how it can be frustrating to have so much money dumped into something that it loses identity, which it will over time, like once the money comes in, right? Because then that kind of limits opportunities for players who want to get in. You got people who start being a lot more cliquish and only practicing together, so they have a chance to win the money. So I do see some of that. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say that that's dishonest. I can see some of that community aspect being taken away based on this. But to say it's soulless and dead, well, the money coming in would clearly, or the money about to be poured in would clearly say that it's not dead. It's a scene that can be, I guess, scaled, so to speak. It can be increased. So that doesn't really mean that it's dead. And soulless, I guess that's just subjective. It just depends on if you think the commercialization of something makes it soulless or not. So that's really up for you guys to say. But I don't really fully agree with this statement. I get what she's trying to say, but I don't fully agree with soulless and dead. I think it's just a different way. But let's continue to go forward and see what else anybody's saying. I think we're close to the end of my bookmark tweets. The final stage of the FGC is really just developers making games people hate and attaching $1 million towards them in one big incestuous oil money pit. And then the last one that we have is Q Gaming now RTS, which EVO is part of. EVO Saudi soon. And somebody retweeted this against Big Bird and said, yo, what the fuck are you saying, bro? That's what made me like picture that one. But so let me get to kind of what made me cover this, or kind of what I thought about when watching this, right? I don't have a really hard stance on either side. What I think is that when it comes to gaming, you know, and the games that we play and why we enjoy them, I think, you know, I'm sure I've gotten into some back and forth with people about like random shit, but overall, when it comes to gaming, I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy the act of playing the game, getting better at the game, getting skilled at the game, the friends I make within that game. It's a bunch of guys. I mean, even you guys who watch this channel, some of you guys who have played with me from when I had 50 subscribers and so on. Gaming is really, really fun when it's about us sharing the common interest in the game. Some guys that I play with every single day, I don't know their political stances, you know? And I think that, you know, it just depends on who you are ultimately. Like some people could say, well, you know, what if you were playing with somebody who's a racist and you played with him every day, but then he was secretly racist? And I kind of get your point. But to some extent, I would be like, will we be playing every day if this person was racist or prejudiced against me? You know what I'm saying? And then even on top of that, if we're having a good time competing with each other or practicing against each other or playing with each other, wouldn't that kind of shed some of those barriers? It's kind of like it's like playing sports or anything else. When you've been on a sports team, like if you've been on a football team, it's 50 something guys on the team. You're going to meet people who aren't like you. I'll give you guys a particular story, right? In my high school football senior year, we had a new coach take over, and he wanted to make sure that the team had camaraderie. A lot of the athletes that were from the city, like me and other guys, young, athletic, fast, run fast, jump high, all that type of stereotypical shit from the city, right? So a lot of us are starters. Then you may have some guys who are out from the county where I went to school, because my school was half and half. We went out to school in the suburbs. And a lot of the times, a lot of those guys didn't start, a lot of those guys didn't play, and we didn't have a lot in common. So there was some interaction in practice, but not like a ton, unless you were a team captain like I was, because I was cool with all of them. But I remember our coach took us to this camping trip where we had to spend a weekend in like a cabin, do like a bunch of outdoor activities. And one memory that I'll never forget is he had us do this tree course. And essentially what it is you're hooked up to like a safety line. But outside of the safety line, there's like this, I think the thing's called a carabiner, you know, like the little clip thing or whatever. But you basically walk the rope. It's like a rope course of trees high in the sky. I'm sorry to bump my mic. It's like a rope course of trees high in the sky. So you gotta go from tree to tree to tree, and you go across on the ropes. And the ropes, you know, they're shaking and you're in the air and you're hooked up to a safety harness. So you're not gonna fall and hurt yourself, but it's still scary to be high up in the sky. So a person like me who's not accustomed to that, I'm from the city, I was struggling with the course. But some of my teammates who were from the county who did these types of things or went on camping trips and were more outdoorsy, they were able to help me with that. And I remember in that moment, and not saying I didn't feel this way beforehand, because as I said, I was a team captain, but I remember in that moment what the coach did was he showed us the value of everybody being involved and everybody playing. But we all met just based on the fact that we like playing football. Sometimes when it comes to like this fighting game stuff and all that, I think the waters get muddied by this identity politics stuff because of the fact that it doesn't really have much to do with the game. And your personal stance on the Saudi Arabian government being involved in, EVO going forward, that's your personal stance for sure. But it's like the putting pressure on people who do support to say that, you know, well, they stand for this or they stand for that. They don't stand for human rights. They stand against LGBTQ rights, all this type of different stuff. Some people just want to play the game for the sake of playing the game. Or like even Sonic's take, you know, like the one guy, let me see the response, because they actually did say something to that. Let me go back to Sonic's tweet. So when Sonic tweeted this, it was only one reply. Let me see what the rest of the replies are now. So this meme will never not be true because a narcissist is like him. Okay, so some people put gay people I respect, acts like a normal human being, has a person. Oh, okay, so this is essentially like somebody like trying to make fun of Sonic and attack them. They purposely designed the game with him in mind so he can be the poster boy and fly his little flag. NRS is corrupt from the inside out. F him and everyone like him that works at NRS for destroying MK. Yeah, see, this is just like more of like a personal view. This doesn't really have anything to do with what Sonic said. Let's see what Code here says. I will be gayer and louder than ever. Do straight dudes ever feel like that, the need to act like that? Just enjoy your sexuality, win or lose an attorney and go home. And I think this is kind of the point I was trying to make when I was talking about like identity politics. Is like, it's cool if you stand for what you stand for, but in the moments of like playing the game and competing and all that, people just want to see who's the best player and the most skilled player. We don't really care about your personal preferences. Even like even like mines, like when it comes to my personal preferences on certain things, I try to really keep it to the game. Every once in a while, like I'll have an integrity issue with somebody, and usually I'll make another video about someone else if my integrity gets jeopardized because somebody's like being dishonest or disingenuous. But for the most part, I try to keep things to the game, the skill of the game, the knowledge of the game, all those things, right? Let's keep going right here. He ain't reaching grand finals. Dude's already getting behind on the Kusogis he plays. I don't know what he's trying to say. No one expected it because no one actually stands on their moral business as they claim. It's all fake activism, inclusivity, trans, gay rights, people are human, BS folds away when the money is the deciding factor. No one is mad or surprised, just be, and I think this is probably like a take that I was saying here. It's like, the reason I say that all that stuff kind of kills the game is because it's all irrelevant when the money's involved. And the thing is, that's not a bad thing, you know what I'm saying? As I said, if you're a skilled player and you want to play and you want to be compensated for your skill level, just stand on it. And I think if we just stayed at that and we moved away from like all this other shit that happens in the community, things would be a lot better. You know, like beef sets and all those things, that stuff still matters when people get into it. But like, it's the stuff that people get into it about in the community that kind of drives me crazy. Like, I don't care about your political stances. I don't care about your lifestyle outside of the game. I don't care about your views on these rights or those rights. Everything is in black and white. Most situations have some type of nuance, and there are different factors that makes every case-by-case scenario individualistic. So it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me when people kind of try to force all this into gaming. Like for instance, I can give you an example. When it comes to me playing Tekken, I'm a black guy with dreadlocks, right? I'm an older guy, so it would make sense for me to want to play Leroy, but I would never play Leroy because I don't play games for inclusion or representation or any of this other shit and any of these other buzzwords that you can use negatively or positively. I play the game because it's fun. Oh, I like Bruce Lee. I like Bruce Lee style characters. Law is in the game. I'm playing Law. I don't give a fuck that Law is in black and it has dreadlocks or represents something that I believe in my personal life. When I'm playing the game, I'm just playing the game, right? So I think this kind of was a very interesting day of reading these tweets because I didn't plan on covering this at all, but I just kept seeing it so much. And I'm like, what is everybody so upset about? Like, what's the big deal about EVO being purchased by this government? And then I kind of saw that last line about, you know, all this stuff about the cover up of human rights, women's rights, LGBTQ plus, military actions in Yemen and more. But my point is, all that stuff can be true, right? But are you going to EVO for any of this? No, you're just going to play the game. And I think at the end of the day, if it's about gaming and we love gaming, that's where it should be. And the thing about this online stuff that kind of hurts the gaming community is it's a lot of virtue signaling and fake activism and all these different things, when the reality is, bro, let's just play the game and have fun with the game. You know how they say sometimes that saying, never meet your idols? I think that kind of really applies to the fighting game community. It's like, we get too much access to what everybody thinks about shit that's off the game, and that's just not important. If your favorite player is your favorite player, unless he does something personally to me that's really offensive or derogatory or out of pocket, he's always going to be my favorite player because I'm watching him to be my favorite player. I don't care about his thoughts on the Second Amendment or women's rights or gay rights or trans rights or racism or police brutality. I don't care about his thoughts on that. I just like to watch my favorite player play. And I mean, everybody has their position. They can take a different position to this. I understand that. I just think since I'm older, I'm around from a time where we didn't get so wrapped up in everybody else's individualities because we didn't have social media when I grew up. Now that we have social media, all we do is try to critique people for not being perfect. And everybody has some type of skeleton in their closet or some type of view that they don't believe in or something like that, something they don't agree with. And mostly it's because self-preservation is to focus on things that affect you. Now, that could be somewhat selfish, and maybe that's true that it could be somewhat selfish. But when it comes to the gaming space, and we're just gaming, all that other shit should be irrelevant. So I was shocked to see the response to this, and this video is much longer than I meant for it to be because I didn't mean to talk this long. But I just was very surprised at the mixed review because some people are saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with wanting to play for money, just be honest about it. Some people are saying, hey, boycott this big event and let's go support the locals. Some people are saying, hey, why the fuck weren't you supporting the locals in the first place? Don't try to support us now that this big money has been thrown in and you have some fake moral clause that you want to stand on that you don't truly believe in. So now you're trying to come back and give us fake support. Like, and nobody's really wrong, you know what I'm saying? Everybody can have their position. I'm just shocked at all the different sides to be taken in the argument, you know what I'm saying? So that's what really caught my attention and made me want to speak on this, because at first I was confused, but as I read more about it, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense, but I think all this could be simplified if we just focused on what matters when it comes to the gaming community, and that is the game. Not political ideology, not representation, not, this character looks like me, or they included this character who has this identity or this gender or ideology. Like, hey, is the game fun? Can we play the game? Is the game exciting to play? Can I make friends playing the game with our common bond being the game? It's no different than your friends group that you grew up in, right? Some of your friends that you've been cool with for 10, 15 years, as you get older and go separate ways, you remain friends, but your interests change, right? I think that this should all be the same. If our common interest is gaming, let's just focus on the game. So I'm sure somebody will have a hard stance against this and say that maybe I'm being insensitive. And if you think that, I'm open to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. But I think the simple solution to all of this is, hey, when it comes to gaming, let's just game. And that's why I really have no issue with Sonic Fox's take, even though I see people trying to attack him. Because at the end of the day, Sonic Fox is admitting, hey, I want to win money. I want to have a legacy in competitive gaming. And if that's the case, then nothing should deter him. No matter what the tournament represents or what they're doing in their own space, I don't blame Sonic Fox, because that doesn't have anything to do with him. If he wants to compete and build his competitive legacy and win some money while doing it, and win a larger prize of money because more money is being invested, I see nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But I also think that if you're going to take that stance when it comes to competitive legacy, then don't finger wag at people when it comes to like certain things that you have interest in. And I'm not really saying that to call Sonic out in this scenario. He's just the most popular name, and there's been issues where people have accused him of that, or he's been like, seen doing that. And I think that that's where things get confusing, because when you do that and then a situation like this comes up, people kind of see, oh, you don't really mean that as much as you said you did, which is totally fine, because you don't have to mean that as much as you said you did, because you want to compete and play for money. My point is, we should never get into the area where we're even having those conversations about who believes in what or who supports what. Like, that's why whenever I've ever spoken about Sonic and we've had like our gripes or our back and forths, I've never commented on any of those areas of things that he's into. And I'm only saying this because he's the largest name, so it's easy to make this analogy, but I really mean this for everybody. None of us should be talking about what people are into or what they're interested in, what they do inside their personal life. If I met you through Tekken and I love playing Tekken, I'm going to talk to you about Tekken. If we develop a friendship outside of Tekken, that's cool, but even with that, there'll be a certain level of boundaries where I won't really get into every single ideology that you have, because we're from two different backgrounds and we're from two different places and grew up in different ways. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy some of the same things. And for the things that we don't enjoy, we just don't need to interact in those things. And I think that's overall what I'm trying to say the most. So I hope that doesn't get misconstrued, but this is the internet, so I know that it will. But hey, what can you say? Till the next time, it's your boy Lou Streets. First video in the new place. I didn't expect it to be this type of topic, and I didn't really want it to be this topic. It was just a pure coincidence that I got my setup done today, and then this information came out about EVO. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. Till next time, it's your boy Lou Streets. I'm out. Peace. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should you be not judged for being able to play and compete, as Sonic is saying here, or do you think that you should be forced to stand on your morality if you're pitching that all over the internet any other time? Let me know. Till next time, I'm gone. Peace.
Hey, Steve, you know you can kick in fights, right?
I could beat you with one hand, old man.
Round one.